Hello friends, I am so excited and so relieved right now. I just got a text message from Mark's Garmin GPS tracker. It said, Hunter got a moose! I haven't been sharing this with you guys because I don't really like to make it public when my husband's been out of town, but he has been gone for the past 5 weekends trying to get a moose. Hunter had the tag, he shot the moose. His first moose, he said it was a good, clean shot. So over the next couple days, we're going to be showing you what it actually looks like to process a moose in real time, what it really takes. So today is Friday, and they shot the moose this morning. I will let you know when they get back and when I have more information. But for now, I just had to tell somebody, and that somebody is you guys. I'm so relieved because actually this was the last weekend they were able to get the moose, and then the season closed until winter time. But a wintertime hunt would have been really, really tricky. So this is a huge blessing, and we're going to take you along for what it takes to process a moose once they get it out of the field. The actual moose hunt will be over on Mark's channel, but I'm just so relieved. Yay! So I just had to call up Hunter's middle school and let the attendance secretary know that he needed to be excused for today. And she said, okay. And then she said, is he not feeling well? I said, actually, he just went on a moose hunt. He shot a moose this morning. And she said, oh, I'm so jealous. We spent last weekend hunting, didn't see a moose, didn't hear a moose, nothing. I'm so jealous. And I love that that is the response from an Alaskan school. Like, she said, congratulations, I'm so excited for him, instead of giving me any sort of hard time that he was out on a moose hunt. It's a part of a lot of our culture up here to get our food. So I just really enjoyed that conversation with her. I said, I feel your pain. They've been gone the last 5 weeks trying to get one. So I'm so excited they got it just before the season ended. So that was really funny. I have spent my entire afternoon cleaning the upstairs of our house because if we are going to be processing a moose over the next week and a half, I wanted the upstairs to be ready to do that. So I'm happy to report that the upstairs is looking very nice and clean, ready for Hunter's first moose to come home and be butchered. Once upon a time, I would plan big projects when Mark was away moose hunting and be really exhausted when he came home. A few years ago, I realized that if I wasn't going along on the moose hunt, it was a good idea to clear my schedule as much as possible and have the house clean and ready to process the meat. It is a big job, and getting myself mentally prepared has helped me enjoy the process so much more. And of course, Miss Luna is wondering what's going on as I'm moving furniture and cleaning, huh? What's happening around here, huh? Are you concerned that something is going on because it's getting so clean? All right, friends, it is the next day. I know I look the same, but you know, it's freezing in my house and I just keep throwing on my fuzzy new sweater. Anyways, it is the next day and I just heard from Mark. I just got pictures of Hunter's moose. It's like the perfect size moose for a first moose. I'm so happy for him. So here is the lowdown. They're not back yet. What they had to do is moose are so heavy, and you have to be so careful when you're flying, and it's all weight based with these small airplanes. So they were hunting with another friend that also had an any bull tag, and so they ended up getting 2 moose. So they butchered 2 moose yesterday. It took 3 airplane flights. They flew them to a place called Talkeetna, and a family member drove to Talkeetna and picked up the moose meat from the 2 moose and is driving it back so that they can safely fly the 3 airplanes home. It's tricky business. If they didn't do it that way, they would have to be flying multiple flights all the way home, which is much further. So they decided this was the easiest, safest way. So the meat is getting picked up in Talkeetna. That's why Mark had phone service. He just told me all the story. It just sounded like a really good, positive hunt, which is what they needed after 5 weeks of just heartbreak and not getting a moose. So they will be home sometime this afternoon. They've still got a little bit of flying around to do and packing up and things like that. It is a long process, but we are just at the beginning of all the hard work. So I just want to keep you updated along the way. I should probably get myself a shower and cleaned up before they get home. Maybe not. Doesn't really matter. I'm just happy they got a moose and are coming home. Just praying for them that their flight is uneventful on the way home and that they'll be back by dinner time tonight. Yay! My boys are home! Congratulations!
Oh, thanks, hon. Oh my goodness. All the meat in here, I have it in the sled. I can't even pull. I'm gonna have to get help, but it was bottoming out the shocks on the car. I had to drive really slow.
The ironic thing is that we've had a mom and baby moose in our yard all morning that we've been watching, and now we have Hunter's playing around with his moose horns over here. Need help?
Yeah. Heavy.
Here's mama and baby over here, trying to give them their space, but congratulations, Hunter! Woohoo! That's amazing. That's a nice, perfect little rack. That's like the perfect size for putting on a wall.
Yeah.
It's not too big, and
It's gotta be like, see, here's from like another small one.
it's bigger than that though.
Oh yeah, it is. It's bigger.
34 inches.
First moose in the books.
Woo.
Thankfully this year the temperature is perfect for us to hang the meat in our shed so that it can cool down and be safe away from anything that would want to come eat it, like a bear or a fox or a wolf or anything like that. So we will lock it in the shed, and then over the next week we will take care of processing it. So I just took the most glorious long shower. This was a long 5 weeks of just like stress for Mark and I, because he felt stressed he needed to get a moose. I felt stressed because they were whisking away every Friday night, and it just felt like a huge relief when I got the message that they got a moose. And then now an even bigger relief that they are home safe. And one of the important things that you do when you get home from a moose hunt is that you put your meat in clean game bags. And these game bags have been sitting in a basket next to my sewing machine for a year, since last year, and Mark needs one. These ones are in a basket because they have some sort of rip or tear in them. So I wasn't even finished getting ready, but that's okay. I want to help them out. So this bag right here just has this little teeny tiny tear in it. But if that were to be left open and then you put your meat in it, a fly could get in and lay eggs, and you know, that would just be gross. So I'm just gonna sew it up. I'll probably just go through the whole basket and find the holes and sew them up so that when they need them, they're ready. But huge, huge, huge relief to have my boys back home safe. And we're gonna have meat in the freezer. It's good. Now I just have to remember how to use my sewing machine because it's been so long. I used to even quilt and everything. It's not like I don't know how to use it, but it's like when you haven't used it forever, sometimes it feels intimidating. So this was just a little small hole, so I was just able to sew around it. If it's a bigger hole, I create a patch and then sew around it. But okay, this one's done, Mark. Step one, when we start to do our moose meat processing, is that we lay down freezer paper onto the countertop. This makes the cleaning much easier. We've got some machines over here.
A vacuum.
I'm gonna move this one onto the counter.
They're both very, very heavy. This is a meat grinder, an industrial meat grinder. These tubs are really good for collecting meat in. And we've never used a vacuum sealer for our meat, but we might try that out for some steaks or maybe some roasts this year. Today we're working on hamburger meat, and everybody gets involved. So the boys, even you. So they have little bins here and paper towels. They're trying to remove any sinew, or if they find a stray hair, They kept the meat extremely clean, but every once in a while you might find a little hair, and they're cutting it into chunks that can then be ground up.
But it's bad if you have a lot of fat. You have to have a little bit of fat. Just a little bit's good for you, but not a lot.
Okay. And Everett's just getting in on the action this year with his kid's knife. He's gonna help with the grinder when we have enough done. So
we're trying to get the sinew off, which kind of gets the grinder gummed up. So just try to get this stuff off.
So this is what we're removing, and then this will be ground up. What meat is used for ground meat?
Oh, stuff that's really tough, like neck meats or in the shank, in the calf. Just any type of meat and also loose meat, just kind of different small chunks here or there that's not big enough for a roast or something else.
If you are new around here, I did not grow up in a family that hunted or processed our own meat. We moved to Alaska when I was 14 years old and got into fishing, but not hunting. Mark, on the other hand, did grow up in an Alaska hunting family and has done this his entire life. Early in our marriage, I found the process a bit overwhelming. And then I realized that I had two choices: figure out how to enjoy this process or be miserable for years to come, because moose hunting is a big part of our life. Thankfully, I chose to figure out how to enjoy the process and make it a family event each fall. I will never know all the different cuts of meat, but I am really great at packaging up meat and having all the supplies ready and cleaned each time. It is still exhausting and a lot of hard work, but it is something that we really have come to enjoy as a family. And of course, Chef Bennett always has to try the meat out right away. So many good family conversations happen as we work together processing a moose for the year ahead.
This is all the lining around the stomach. What I'm envisioning is I'm gonna make it. There you go. I'm gonna make a loaf and wrap it up. Look at that. I don't know.
Here Mark is experimenting with a new recipe with the caul fat from the moose, and the meat in the middle is the heart meat chopped into small pieces. He's also adding some sauteed onions and spices. The caul fat allows you to make a loaf that keeps all the good juices in as you cook it. Mark is great at trying new things with our moose meat, so we never get bored around here. Bennett ran outside and harvested some potatoes and carrots from our garden and cleaned them up to have along with dinner. The experimental loaf went out onto the grill to be smoked and cooked. It sure looked and smelled good.
So good. Moment of truth. It's cooked nice.
The caul fat did its job and kept the juices in, and the meat inside was flavorful and tender. Most of us tasted the outside and decided to leave it off to the side, but all in all, it was a great experiment and a yummy dinner.
Please.
Well, I just put the littles to bed. This is still day one of butchering.
You like my loin?
Wait, is there any roast material in there?
Still hard at work.
You could turn that into a pot roast, then.
I'm gonna wrap up these.
Well, we got it.
We wrap up our roasts in plastic bags and then freezer paper. We have been asked in the past why we do it this way, and the answer is it's the way that Mark's parents have always done it, and the meat stays great in the freezer for a year without getting frosty. So we continue to do it that way.
That seemed to help on the countertop.
It would be great if we could get the processing done in one day and only have to clean up one time, but Mark works full time, plus the kids are in school and activities, so we just do our best and clean up each night and just pick up again the next day where we left off. It is the next day. We are still processing meat. Tonight we are making a couple of different things using the grinder. So here we have, what are you guys making?
Italian sausage.
Italian sausage. This is ground up moose with Italian spices. Mild Italian seasoning with whole fennel. And then here we are grinding up some pork fat that Mark picked up at a grocery store today. This is gonna be added into making breakfast sausage and some bratwurst. The moose meat is so lean, when you wanna make something like breakfast sausage, you do have to add a little bit of fat to it. We do not add fat to the rest of our hamburger that we use for hamburgers and spaghettis and all that type of stuff, but we do like to add it for a thing like breakfast sausage.
I'm doing the grinder. Let's see, turn it on. I want to show you how it works. It goes into this bowl, and then it goes down here, and it gets chopped up into noodles.
Into noodles?
Yeah.
These are meat noodles?
Meat noodles.
Okay, push it through, show us.
Oh, and these ones.
Are you careful not to put your fingers in there? How do you push it down?
What's this?
Perfect.
Thanks for watching. That's the end of the video.
No, it's not. We wish we were done, but we're not.
This is the biggest meatball ever.
It smells like a meatball. It smells like Italian.
It's the most expensive meatball in the world.
I just thought there's like a lot of fat and stuff on it.
I don't know if that's what you're really going for, but.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna use this sausage stuffer. It is filled with the Italian meat.
Yeah.
And we're gonna fill up these bags, and this is what we freeze them in.
And this is all the meat
Yep.
that we are going to be using. And I'm the cranker.
Okay.
Ready?
Go ahead, yep.
Ugh. It's going in.
Yep, go ahead.
But the top one makes it harder.
Okay, stop. Stop, please. Don't do it while I'm not ready, okay? Hold on, I'm not ready. Okay, go ahead. Slow, slow, slow.
Be careful.
Slow.
You want to test it.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Take it off.
Okay, good.
You want it. So we push it. Well, I want to kind of look at it. You're doing something. Now we're making breakfast sausage. We've got breakfast sausage seasoning. In this bowl, we've got about 9 pounds of pork fat and pork shoulder, and Bennett's gonna mix in until we have 25 pounds. Just start putting it in, Bennett, and All right, Bennett's mixing up the seasoning so that we can have them with a little bit of water.
All right, here's all the Italian sausage. Taking it out on a tray to the freezer. And now I am doing the breakfast moose sausage. There's our tray full of Italian sausage.
And the Italian stallion with 0% Italian blood.
The Alaskan aviator. That's more what you are. All right, here's the breakfast sausage. And now we take a brief intermission to go put the kids to bed. Real life around here. Nothing gets done quick when you have 4 kids. Mark is working away at packaging up just the ground moose. This is just plain ground moose burger that we use in tons of different recipes. We actually ground it up yesterday, but we were missing one thing that we needed to package it, so we had to wait till today. The kids have all gone to bed. I'm just washing dishes because you gotta clean up after, or this meat gets stuck to everything. So you gotta make sure that you wash it all up, all the little bits and pieces. So that's what we're working on. We took a day off because we had some prior things planned, and we are back at it. We are doing a back leg, which is an extremely large piece of meat on the moose. We get roasts, steaks, and hamburger out of the back leg. You get steaks out of the back leg?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. Making sure I'm saying the right thing.
Yeah, lots of steaks.
Hunter had a cross-country race tonight, so I was there with Bennett, and Mark's been here getting everything ready. And now we just have to muscle through.
What?
Okay, got the littles to bed. Bennett is still here helping. We borrowed this vacuum sealer, so it took me forever to try and figure out how to make it work. It kept malfunctioning. But I think we got some good steaks now vacuum sealed. Usually we just use quart-sized freezer bags and do it ourselves, but we're trying out the vacuum sealer. We may or may not be fans, but we'll see. We ground up some meat. I'm about to start packaging that here. Mark is working on more steaks, and is that a roast?
I think it's either. It depends on what we want. So I'm kind of looking at it. It's really pretty soft, or pretty tender right here. And that one.
So if it's tender, we probably want to make it into a steak. If it's not, then we want to make it into a roast. That's going to get cooked longer. And we are saving the bones this time. My goal is to try and make some bone broth out of those, but we got to get the meat packaged first. So that's where we're at tonight. It's about 9:30. So you may have recently watched our video where we organized our freezer, and you may be thinking, you have a lot of meat left over. And there's a couple things to say about that. Number one, that is our indoor freezer. That's where we bring everything in that we are using currently. We actually have another freezer that is dedicated to meat and fish. So most of our meat and fish are in there, and it is getting pretty low. But we do still have a bit of moose meat left, and there's kind of this feeling during moose hunting season, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a moose. So you don't wanna like blow through all your meat until it's kind of a guaranteed thing that you have a moose to replace all that meat. So that is one reason why we try and make sure there's meat all the way up until the end. And my plan is to take the meat that we have left over, the steaks and the roasts, and can those. We are completely out of canned moose meat. We like to have that to add to recipes when we run out of time for cooking, taking it to the cabin, making soups, things like that. So some of that meat that we have left over from last year's moose will, in the near future, will be turned into canned meat. But that is a big process all on its own because you have to pressure cook it. So that is on our list of things to do in the next few weeks with last year's moose meat. So we make sure that all the meat that we get, we use it. We are also able to gift some of the meat to friends that were not able to get any animals but would have liked to. So we make sure that all the meat gets used and taken care of. So I am really like running around right now. Mark is in charge of cutting meat. I've run the grinder. I'm packaging the hamburger. I'm running the vacuum sealer for the steaks. Andy has a whole bin of roasts that we have to take care of. So we're doing a little bit of everything tonight. Mark loves to make summer sausage and beef jerky out of our moose, but later. So one of the things that we found really helpful is to make 5-pound bags already measured out. I used a bowl and a kitchen scale to measure out 5 pounds of moose meat. And that way we can just pull it out and know that it's already 5 pounds, add in the spices and do the dehydrating or whatever smoking that is necessary. So we've not always done this, but the last few years we have found it to be very, very helpful. Little tricks you learn along the way. Another one of those tricks is we did not used to use this sausage stuffer when we were packaging the ground meat. And it is just so helpful. It just makes it so nice to get it good in that little tube. I'm a fan. Here's our 5-pound bag in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. I just need to label it. It is a lot of work to get a moose stored away properly in the freezer, but we have tried to streamline the process and work together until it is done. We are very humbled whenever we do harvest a moose and want to make sure to take really good care of it so that it will feed our family and friends for the year ahead. Luna's always close by, keeping an eye on us, huh? All right, here's tonight's work. Ton of ground, huge pile of dry roasts and pot roasts. The dry roasts are more tender and can be done just like on the Traeger, whereas a pot roast needs to go in like a crock pot and cook for a long time. This is all steaks, different kinds of steaks, round steaks, tri-tip steaks, and then we have a couple of flank steaks, which are good for, they're really flat and thin, and you can roll them up and put lots of yummy things in them. There's two really big ones. Mark has just a few more steaks to process, but we are so exhausted. It's after 11 o'clock, and we are just going to get the kitchen cleaned up so we can go to bed. And he's gonna finish the steaks tomorrow because all he'll need to pull out is like a cutting board and some bags, not all these different machines. So we're gonna start the cleanup process. While Mark took all the meat out to the freezer, I washed the dishes. It's really good to work together on these projects so that we feel like we did it together, and it feels really good to accomplish a project like this as a family. Last night was a very late night, getting to bed after midnight, but we always expect to have at least one, if not a couple of those late nights when it comes to processing the meat. You kind of get to a point where you're like, we just got to push through and finish, and that was last night, so after midnight. Okay, warning, I'm going to show you the horns. They've been sitting out in our yard, so if that makes you queasy, just look away. We leave them out here and birds have been pecking on them. There's even some bird poop on it because we got to scrub those, but these are hunter's moose horns. We're just trying to get the birds to eat little bits and pieces out of that skull so that we can make a nice, perfect little mount for him. I really feel like this is like the most perfect first moose horn rack. It's just gonna be awesome. So we are leaving that out there. I'm gonna take you really quick to the meat freezer so you can see what we got going on after a week of processing this moose. So this is our meat, fish, and raspberry freezer. And it is looking fully stocked for the year. That's what we want going into winter. Up on top we have halibut and berries in this box, blueberries, raspberries, and that's a little bit of moose meat. I also have some chicken broth in here that I make and keep frozen. Here are our steaks. This is Italian moose sausage that you saw us make. This is all salmon in this drawer here. We will need some boxes to help us keep this organized eventually, but right now while everything's freezing, it's doing a good job. This is just the regular moose 2022. We actually don't have anything other than moose and fish in this freezer. Usually we'll have like caribou and bear and deer, but we just have moose this year. We haven't gotten anything else. Lots of raspberry jam. I like to make a bunch of these small ones and give them at Christmas time to people with like a fresh loaf of bread or something. And then for our family, we prefer these bigger raspberry ones. So then down here, we have all these moose roasts that Mark and I did last night. And then this bottom drawer is just full of hamburger. As you can see, hamburger is the biggest thing because that is what we use multiple times every single week. And then over here, I did do some smoked salmon this fall. And so that's over here in this door, and more raspberry jam and some chicken broth and a little bit of fish stock. So that is our meat freezer. Nothing from Costco goes in here. This is just stuff that we have harvested. So that's what goes in this freezer. And then when we run out, we move stuff into the garage freezer. I really hope that this gave you a glimpse into what it takes to process a moose. We do it as a family. It is something that we have done for the past 13 years, probably, just in our own home. Before that, we helped Mark's parents do theirs, but we have been very blessed to get at least half a moose every year since we moved back to Alaska, which is amazing, and we do not take that for granted because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get a moose. It's a lot of work to process a moose. Now you might be thinking, don't they have places that will do all that for you? Yes, you can go and pay and drop off your meat to get processed, but we just choose not to do that. We have had a lot of fun experimenting over the years, learning what we can make with it. When things slow down a little bit, we'll be getting some of that out and making bratwurst out of it and making summer sausage out of it. So there's so many fun things that we have found that we can do, especially Mark, with that meat. But if you were too busy or you just didn't feel like that was worth it to you, you definitely can take it to a place and get it processed. Our favorite place is Indian Valley Meats, but we just do it at home. Thank you so much for processing moose with us. We hope that you learned something. We are so grateful for each and every one of you that chooses to spend time with us. We love you, we're grateful for you, and we'll see you again real soon for more of This Alaska Life.